Welcome to the Trumpet of the last few days. I'm Stanley Farrar.
And I'm Robert Farrar.
I'm Joshua Farrar.
And I'm Nathaniel Masters.
Our guest today. In case you couldn't figure that out.
The second one we've had total.
Well, so far, the times in which we've had guests has been our highest viewed videos.
So clearly we need to have a guest every episode is what you're saying.
Apparently.
Apparently, because we're just not good enough.
I mean, I watched the first episode because I'm friends with Sky, so I was like, oh, hey, I'll watch Sky on this. And I'm friends with Robert, too, so I found out about it. I was like, oh, I should start watching this. It's got Robert in it, and his dad, and his brother. I was like, oh, this sounds interesting.
Instead, people are taking tune in. Well, looky there. There's an old guy and two young punks. I don't care what they have to say. I'll just turn it off.
Because young people never know anything.
Describe us.
Speaking of such things, they have taken and keep jumping from one attempted to overthrow to another, whether it be through lies and backdoor politics to riots in the streets. And it all goes back to supporting a recent statement by the Psychological Association.
Man, you segued into that topic fast.
Yeah, you did.
The Psychological Association took and came out and stated that people, especially similar to the social justice warriors and the left in general, that are in this victim mentality, tend to have the triad of evil. They take and are narcissists, psychopaths, and Machiavellians.
Specifically the dark triad, if I recall correctly, is a term used occasionally in psychological circles to describe certain personality disorders. Specifically those who are typically psychopaths or sociopaths. Or narcissists.
You'll find almost every serial killer falls into the category.
Yeah.
But this is a lot of people.
And most politicians.
Yes.
Well, I would agree with you on the politicians, yeah. Politicians are just, they are what they are.
Well, look at Nancy Pelosi. She's been screaming for lockdowns. She takes and criticizes the president for not wearing a mask. And then she orders a local hairdresser to go down and open up her shop so she can come down without a mask and get her hair done and without social distancing.
I mean, it's just so hypocritical. That's all it is anymore.
And then claims to be set up when they take and turn the video over to the press.
You're on candid camera.
How dare they take it? Do such a thing to me?
Well,
don't they know my greatness?
I mean, it's rules for you, but not for me. Kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Creates a double standard, is what it does. I mean, but that's really just another form of legalism and judgmentalism.
Without double standards, the left wouldn't have any standards at all.
I've heard that said quite
Didn't you know with double standards
recently.
You got twice the standards of the other group, so therefore you're far more just.
Right. Right.
Well, if you're taking the Machiavellian point of view, you have to look like you're more just than the opposing side. That way the ends justify the means. Now, if you're a narcissist, you really don't care anything about the other person anyway, because you think you're the greatest thing that ever walked the face of the planet in the first place. And if you're a psychopath, you enjoy hurting people. So it's so the whole
that's sadism
and causing harm and destruction.
Sadism is a
That's
different.
right.
It's outside of the dark triangle.
Even though it's pretty dark.
That's called the dark quadrat or something like that. They
Tetrahedron.
referred to it in the video. Well, speaking of psychopaths, there's a what is he? Yeah, Christian apologist. He speaks to issues on Muslims a lot. His name's David Wood. He does Act 17 apologetics, and he's a reformed psychopath. Is basically what he is. He got some help and stuff. And this is after he became a Christian. He's worked through the issues, but he uses his psychopathicness to his advantage when dealing with Muslims. Because he calls him out, and it's really hilarious. There's a video where he's got a guy trying to deplatform him from Patreon, and he just says, I don't really care if you try to get me to deplatform, but it'd be really funny. And he's telling this to his followers, said, if you guys want to start, I don't really need the extra money, but if you want to start contributing me just to take this guy off, feel free to do that. It'd be hilarious. I mean, he's laying the gauntlet down for them and just challenging them, and it's hilarious. It really is. He uses it well.
Well, look at Black Lives Matter. They're a Marxist organization, but they're out to take and just say, look at me. If anybody disagrees with them, you don't count. If it's okay to cause destruction and violence as long as it accomplishes our end goal. They have the triad of evil.
I mean, I think that's fair. That's fair. I'm always cautious not to lump everybody together, because I think there are just some poor saps that have either been brainwashed or just they kind of get in with that or something. But then I also know that the leaders of the movement are definitely, they're doing this knowledgeably. They definitely, I would qualify them as part of the dark triad.
Point of view, we're looking at it from the collective.
Hey, I don't disagree.
We're looking at it from where?
The collective.
The collective?
Yes, collectivism is so good.
You stop it. Well, I will agree that, yes, there are a lot of willing idiots. That somebody says, let's go do this, and if the mob's willing to do it, they're willing to do it. That's the mob mentality. And they're taking it to the extreme. But the leadership that's actually leading that mob, there has to be something wrong with them to be willing to go out and cause that kind of devastation.
I fully agree.
For instance, that shooting in Kenosha. That young man was physically attacked because he put out a fire in a dumpster. When he took him while they were trying to kill him, throwing bricks and shooting at him and various other things, he fires back, grazes the guy on the side of the head. I found out he didn't kill him. He only grazed him.
Oh, okay.
He shot 3 times at that particular individual. He grazed him on the side of the head. 1 round went into the ground, and they don't know where the other round went. The man was shot 7 times. He was killed by a shot to the back. He was killed by a shot to the back. He also had a shot to the groin and a few other places in the arm, and I think a couple other places. So he was actually hit 7 times, and the bullet to the back is what killed him.
Well, I saw
the guy who's.
Well, I saw a lawyer, he's a defense attorney, going over the video, and he was showing where all the different shots were, and he said there's somebody else with a gun that fired a gun, and it was right after that the kid, Rittenhouse, I think his name is, ended up firing his shots, and I think they said he shot it was like a 4 burst and like a 3 burst maybe. But I know there was at least 4 burst shot at one point. I think that's where he fired. There might have been another one a little bit later, but I can't remember quite off the top of my head. But
Well, according to witnesses at the scene, they said he shot 3 times. in a 3-round burst. That the other shots were coming from other people.
And that's entirely possible. Like I said, we know there's somebody else with guns there that had fired a shot beforehand. And from the angle, it was comparing different film angles, this lawyer was. And from one angle, you could tell it definitely sounded like it could have come from behind him. Or at least that's, I think, plausible that Kyle Rittenhouse would have assumed. From another angle, it looks like it's coming off from the far left. But, yeah.
Well, he had every reason to believe they're shooting at him.
I think you're right. I mean, it looked like he was being chased in the video leading up to, I think it was the auto area with the cars. It looked like he clearly being chased. And he thought something was being thrown at him. Plus, when you hear a shot being fired, it's like you might not know where it's coming from. You got people chasing you. Like, your first instinct is, hey, how do I defend myself when they're right on me? And so it does look more like self-defense.
Thing about it is the guy who got shot, that they know he hit him in the head, grazed him. That particular individual threw a brick at him, so he definitely was trying to kill him.
Yeah, that's accurate. I don't know if it was a brick. I just saw him. It was in some kind of plastic sack, and from the video, I couldn't tell what it was. But
they said they couldn't tell what it was either until after the police examined it and found out there was a brick in the bag.
Okay. See, I wasn't sure. I haven't kept up that much since I looked into it the first time. So that was like a couple days after. So probably more information has come out since I've.
And when you figure when he fell, okay, the one guy came over and tried to stomp him, and he just kicked him away. The other guy tried to beat him down with a skateboard. He shot him, and he fell dead. And the other guy came up with a Glock, point blank, and he just literally put the AR-15 against his arm and squeezed the trigger.
Oh yeah, which I mean, like I said, I can't blame the kid in that situation for what he did. I'm not, and so it's like, you know, if I put myself in his shoes, and I think that's a key thing, is putting ourselves in other people's shoes sometimes. And that's what some people just aren't willing to do. They can't empathize with certain people, and they refuse to, and that's not good.
Which is a key characteristic of a narcissist. Narcissists do not have empathy. Neither do psychopaths. And so you're dealing with people who do not have empathy. Everybody there brought a weapon of some sort.
I agree. I mean, for me though, what makes the situation worse is it didn't have to happen. It was the result of people refusing to call the rioting what it is, which is rioting. They just keep calling it peaceful protesting by the media, and the people that just buy into that narrative. I'm like, there's plenty of footage for the past 3 months of people burning and destroying places. In some places, in some burned buildings, they found bodies too. And I think that's what's created the situation. It's like you get really mad, start rioting, and it's like people feel like that, and the police aren't doing anything about it. So they feel like they have to defend them. And so when they call people in, and you know, it's like, well, what do we do? You know, we call people in, and then they get in a scuffle. And I think people need to start expecting this to happen more. And it's just really a really sad situation.
I don't think they're angry.
So you think this is all calculated then?
I don't. Yes, I do. I think they are doing it on purpose. I think they're being paid. I think they're being paid to do it. In fact, I know they're being paid to do it. They've tracked the money.
Well, what do you mean they're being paid? Are you talking about like George Soros money, or are you talking about
Black Lives Matter? Several different organizations, actually, but Black Lives Matter, or George Soros is paying Black Lives Matter, but Black Lives Matter is also being funded through an organization that's was started by the Weather Underground. Now, the Weather Underground was a 70s terrorist group that blew up several police stations. And they're also being funded by other donators to the Black Lives Matter and to Antifa. They're actually paid to go out there and do this.
That does not surprise me. I think in some sense it makes sense. I mean, because a lot of these people aren't necessarily in-state people. They're coming from out of state. A lot of times what we see. And so I think, it's always like, okay, I don't think it's a far stretch to say these people are getting paid to be there. They're definitely getting bussed in at the very least. They're getting given transportation and like, hey, let's go do this thing. I don't know for a fact whether they're getting paid. I'm not going to say I haven't seen the pay stubs or them getting the money, but I don't think that's a far gone conclusion from what we see happening in the funding that organizations like Black Lives Matter is receiving, and a lot of times from hopeless saps that you may be related to.
Well, see, the thing is, BLM has received funding from businesses and individuals across the country because as soon as the whole George Floyd incident happened, people started lining up in droves to give them money. Figuratively. With the internet, you don't need to line up.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Well,
for the record, I hope
do.
you don't think I was referring to any of your family when I made that comment. Just wanted to be very clear on that.
As far as I know, I have no relatives that donated money to Black Lives Matter.
The official name is actually the Black Lives Matter movement.
Well, I think there's a couple different organizations with it. I think it's a Black Lives Matter Foundation. That's the one that has their website is, down with the nuclear family and all these bad stuff, which honestly hurts the black community more. I mean, it's not helping them.
It hurts every community is the problem.
If you look at all their charter websites, there's every single one of their charter websites takes and promotes the destruction of the nuclear family, the destruction of society. They're blatant Marxists.
Well, yeah, I would agree. I think there's been video evidence of at least one of the founders of one of the organizations, and it's like, oh yeah, we're trained Marxist. We're trained how to use Marxist tactics to infiltrate organizations. That's not a
that video is actually out there. Yeah,
they're following the Marxist playbook right down the line, complete with the if we don't get our way, we'll burn it all down.
I mean,
which Marx did in his real life, in the organizations that he was in. If he couldn't get control, he'd trash the whole organization.
But as we have gotten on to last week's topic that we have already discussed ad nauseum, we should probably move it on to this week's topics.
Thing about it is they're corrupt politicians. They're sitting back over there saying, oh boy, let's take and destroy. Let's just get at them. Let's just bring down society from power. I want more power. That type of mentality.
Is that supposed to be from like the Rankin Bass version, Gollum or something like that?
No, that's more referencing the original Igor out of one of the Frankenstein renditions.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
It's Peter Lorre.
Peter Lorre, yeah.
That's fair. I don't think I've seen that. I don't watch a lot of Frankenstein.
Oh, this was like 1930s. It's back there.
Yeah.
Why am I not surprised?
Speaking of political corruption, has anybody heard about what's going on in Canada right now?
I have not. You will have to enlighten me.
The lost country of the Americas. The cold, bitter, frozen wastelands of the north.
Yes, the cold, bitter lands of the north. Feel sorry for those people. I think they're dealing with their own battles.
So Justin Trudeau has been caught in 2 official ethics violations, which that actually I found out recently is a thing in Canada, whereas Americans are just like, okay, if it's an ethics violation, we'll call it an ethics violation, but it's not official. They have official recognition of ethics violation.
Do you know what code, what subsection 21 says, Robert?
No.
I can't remember either.
But on top of that...
Why did you bring it up?
It was a reference to the video that Robert sent me on the subject, and this guy kept asking, well, do you know what section 21 means? And instead, Justin Trudeau, instead of saying, oh, I don't know, I've read it, but I can't remember. He literally goes on and is like, yeah, of course I know what it means. And it was like, and he's like, well, what does it say? And he couldn't, it's like, he would refuse to say he did not know what Section 21 was, and I was like, it was funny. It was hilarious as an American. I'm laughing. Or Canadian, I probably wouldn't be.
But Justin Trudeau, on top of the 2 ethics violations, has also been in several other scandals. And now is embroiled in another scandal that will likely end up in a 3rd ethics violation and possibly a snap election.
I mean, considering his own standpoints, I'm surprised the blackface thing didn't get him.
Yeah, and that was one of the unofficial ones, the non-ethics violations.
I know. I cannot believe they let that go. I was like, he was in blackface. That is so racist, especially by the standards of the left. But it's double standards. Remember?
You have to remember.
That's right. He's left. He can get by with it.
He must have that. Was it the dark triad?
But
yes, I think he does.
But Trudeau, his family, were paid $350,000 just collectively. His mother and his wife. I don't know if his son was involved.
I think it was his wife, his mom, and somebody else.
Yeah, I thought it was 3 people in his family.
There was a third. I just can't remember who it was.
Were paid $350,000.
I've got to step out for a moment.
Okay. In other news, I started the recording again.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear.
Okay. Well, so Justin Trudeau, his family was paid $350,000 by a group called the We Charity, which was then given an exclusive government contract worth $500 million. I don't know what it's for. I don't know what it does. Now, the source we said $1 billion, but then the interview said $500 million. An interview between the Prime Minister and a member of the shadow government of Canada. Which the whole...
Yeah, that's not an ominous name.
Yeah, well, it's... Welcome to the British system, where they can establish shadow governments.
Yeah. The guy had this really cool name. It's like a French name, but I was like, it's like Pompia or something like that. I cannot remember how it is. All I remember is something about Polyev. Yeah.
Yeah.
All I remember it was something. What was it? Hair? It was like a rabbit. Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it means. That's funny.
But Pierre Poilievre, the member of the shadow government, was part of the group conducting a hearing on the Prime Minister, in which he completely refused to answer a grand total of 100% Poilievre's question.
As an American, I thought it was hilarious to watch, because this doesn't affect me, but it's like, it's so obvious that Justin Trudeau is just refusing and trying to get out of whatever he's doing. I think the term I heard was like adolescence and immature. So it was so bad and so obvious.
In the U.S., what Trudeau did would, if he had been charged and convicted, would land you impeached and in prison.
Oh yeah, for sure. If Trump had done anything like that, he would have been impeached. Unfortunately, he hasn't actually done anything like that. Because
silly thing is that Biden actually has a similar charge against him, but it hasn't gone through the courts yet.
I'm saying if he actually had been charged and it actually went through the proper process, then that's what should be the end result. However, Canadian law is not United States law.
I was just thinking that he was a good student of Biden. But Biden didn't get charged.
Yeah.
It's because he was part of the Obama brigade.
He confessed to it and didn't get charged.
Shocker. The Democrats aren't charging their own people? Oh my gosh, where has this been my entire life? I never knew.
Corrupt Politics 101. Construct an oligarchy and make that oligarchy appear fair from the outside.
almost like Clinton
Corrupt
was
politics
guilty of
lesson
perjury,
2.
and
Convince the justice system that being executed by a bullet to the back of the head is actually a symptom of suicide.
It's just clear and
That's
open
some dark
Arkansas.
humor. Of course, we got to
When
war with
looking at
China.
this Justin Trudeau, situation, the things could very well go the same way in Canada that it's been going in Great Britain. It's
Aren't they
very
getting more
possible
conservative
conservatives
there?
may get in his office.
Well, that
They
was the
seem
thing.
to be.
Well, that was the thing is they. I was reading something about Justin Trudeau's last election, and it was actually kind of close. Conservatives gained a lot, but the reason they think that Trudeau won again was because they saw Trump, and they were like, well, we don't really want a Trump guy. But I think with Justin Trudeau's continued ethics violations, that's going to push the conservatives over, probably.
Well, the conservatives are gaining ground just about everywhere. Like, look at this whole Czech Republic thing, where the conservatives, specifically the president of their Senate, Congress,
Senate,
he went and directly visited Taiwan for diplomatic relationships, and is now the Czech Republic is now being threatened by China. They are.
I mean,
they're threatening retaliation for violation of the One China policy.
What are they going to do? What ties does the Czech Republic have to China?
Economic? I don't know.
Oh, they have a tremendous economic tie to China. China and their president is in China's back pocket.
Evidently, it's not tremendous enough for them not to bother going to Taiwan.
Well, it's exciting. I think China's struggling so much. And then so they're like, at this point, are we really want to be in bed with China? Things hit the fan.
That and the president of their Senate are two different positions. It's like the difference between the Speaker of the House and the President.
That's a fair point.
But the president of the Senate is relying on the popularity of the people, because the majority of the people are against China.
Yeah.
While the president of their country is looking at how much China will pay him.
That's very fair. Again, it goes back to that dark triad you mentioned. And,
the Czechs
what it means justify the ends.
Do the Czechs operate under a more British parliamentary system, or do they operate on a system closer to ours?
Czechs usually operate on more of a credit system where you have to sign the back of it and kind of get the banks.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Just don't light
I'm not
any
exactly
on fire.
sure, but
No hot Czechs.
it sounds like it's being that they actually have a president and not a prime minister. It sounds like it's closer to ours than it does the Brits.
Okay, so they may have an actual elected president who may or not be related to the majority party.
Correct.
Yeah, that could be true.
And from what I understand, that their president is elected every 6 years.
Interesting choice. Okay.
I'm not opposed to having a president elected longer than 4 years. Having terms longer than 4 years.
I am.
It just kind of depends for me.
I don't like anyone being in power that long, and I think they should put term limits on Congress and Senate.
Agreed.
See, here's the thing. Then I'm not certain how that's going to backfire, because I'm always like, well, it could work the way we want it to.
Oh, there's going to be some drawbacks. There are drawbacks to almost any idea you can propose. But I think those drawbacks would be worth it if we can get rid of career politicians.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I've seen different sides of this, and I agree with them at different times. I kind of go back and forth with it in my head, because on the one hand, I think if somebody's really popular and they're doing a good job, I want to keep electing them.
Not for 50 years.
Rand Paul.
We've had politicians in their seat for over 50 years.
No, you're right, and that's the drawback.
Nothing.
Then it becomes, they just keep winning because that's who we know. We'd rather trust something we know than we don't know. So forcing that. What kind of like term limits do you think? Are you thinking like 4-year terms max, or
well, I'm thinking like about 3-4-year terms, something like that. So you'll never see anyone over 12 years.
The Senate takes and gets elected every 6 years, so 2 terms would be 12 years for a senator.
All right.
Now, if you took and but the House of Representatives gets elected every 2 years.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm generally, when it comes to these, I'm generally 2 terms for senators, and then I say 5 terms for representatives. So it's like 10 years. So that's enough to make it something accomplished. But you're not going to be in there for too long.
Yeah.
There's a point where you're done. That's just my opinion. But I know what were you going to say, Josh?
I said 6 to make it balanced, so that you've got 6 2-year terms, so 12 and 12.
That's fair.
Just
I'm not like sold on my opinion or anything on this, so.
Okay, so here's the thing about the Czech Republic. Czech Republic elects the president, which the president then appoints the prime minister. Now, the president seems to function very similarly to our president, so I'd assume that the prime minister would be similar to the Speaker of the House. Or, well, actually, the vice president, but...
No, the Speaker of the House is something that's elected within the House of Representatives.
Yes,
You're thinking of the
I think
president,
he's talking more about their job functions rather than
yeah,
the way their job functions rather than the way they're elected.
Yeah. They'd be the head they're the head of the parliament.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
Kind of like in Germany, you have the prime minister and you've got the chancellor.
Yeah, because German chancellors are oh so great.
Or like you used to have in China, where you had the party chairman and the I'm trying to think of what Mao called himself. Oh, that was it. He was the party chairman. Well, now you have the premier, and they used to have the party chairman and a premier.
But
the party chairman ran everything.
The Czech president is elected directly by the. So you have
no electoral college. That's their problem. They don't have an electoral college.
They had an indirect election. 2012, they scrapped it for direct.
Direct elections are bad. I like the electoral college.
Same.
Well, if we had direct elections, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Houston would elect our presidents.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. That's exactly why I'm against popular vote or the direct vote, whatever you want to call it. I mean, but at the end of the day, I think we can improve the electoral college system that I think would be better. I don't like the idea of, I think we should be voting for the electors themselves and not the president. And then each elector is allowed to choose whoever they want for president. That's how I think it was intended. I could be wrong, but I think that's how it was intended. And I support that personally. And I get rid of these faithless elector laws where they say, well, you have to vote for whoever the people support. And I disagree with that. I think it should be we elect people that we believe can choose the president.
I agree with the states being able to pass those laws.
I personally think that we need to go back to a electoral college system that isn't based on the amount of the population. See, as it is right now, the high population states have more electors to put the president into office.
So you think each state should get a fixed number?
If they went with the Senate system, where every state had 2, then every state has equal power.
Yeah, that's. Well, I think
currently we're operating under the same kind of compromise as the Senate and the House of Representatives, where the House of Representatives is population-based, the Senate is.
It's kind of a compromise between the two.
Compromise?
Because you get 2 electors for each senator, or you get an elector for each senator you have. So every state has 2, and then you get the number of electors for how many representatives you get.
But that's been capped, the number of representatives. So
yes, that's fair. Which I'm not certain we should do that. We maybe can come up with a different way to represent people, a different number than what's in the Constitution, but I don't think we should cap the number of representatives so much.
Clearly the best way to represent anyone is trial by combat.
Maybe we should do that. Or better yet, it could be a lady that's, giving you a sword from a lake, right? Or maybe from the stone. That's a great way to elect a leader, right?
Or better yet, throw a sword through a stone from a lake.
Hey, if there's that point of the sword and the stone, you know what that's based off of?
Yeah.
No, what is that based off of?
In Europe, one famous knight allegedly stuck his sword into a stone.
Interesting.
When he ceased to be a knight, and that sword is still there. I believe it's in Spain. I've seen
pictures. That's a really well-made sword.
Oh, it's rusty, but it's got a shrine built over it.
That makes sense.
Or, rather than the sword and the stone thing, whichever politician can joust a better set against a windmill. If we're going Spanish,
a windmill? Is that what you said?
A windmill.
Yeah. Regular Don Quixote.
I need to read Don Quixote. I've never read him. I guess it wouldn't be. It was written by him. His name's not Don Quixote, so.
Don Quixote de la Mancha.
Don Quixote de la Mancha.
Yeah, but this whole thing with China and Czechoslovakia or Czech Republic. There we go.
Czech Republic.
It used to be Czechoslovakia, but now it's 2 separate countries. Czech Republic. Yeah, I mean, it's just another China bullying move. I mean, it's not anything different than what we've seen from them already. I mean, they've been bullying India. They've been bullying Japan. They don't like the United States. I mean, China just wants to pick on everybody. They want to rule the world, so they're going to pick on everybody and try to bully everybody into submission. It's finally going to break when somebody says, we're done.
Well, there's riots, and not riots, but protests all over China, in Tibet, in Hong Kong, in Mongolia, in various cities in China proper. They're having all kinds of protests. So they're coming down much more authoritarian and violent against protesters right now.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's interesting. I remember in Hong Kong on the 4th of July, there was probably more flags there than in some cities here in the U.S. I mean, it was just crazy. So.
Well, they're actually rolled tanks and armored vehicles into Tibet to stop the protesters.
That's not surprising. They've been terrorizing Tibet
Tiananmen Square all over again.
I don't know how long. Century. It's what all over again?
Tiananmen Square.
Yep, basically.
Oh, by the way, you are now a fugitive in China. Tanks. Welcome to the group.
I mean, if we ever get into China, we'll be, apprehended because we've spoken against Hong Kong. That's their law. If you ever speak against it,
if you ever speak
anywhere
against
in the world,
Beijing, you can speak against Hong Kong, just not Beijing.
Oh, something like that. Well,
Hong Kong is the one they're
Beijing's bad, so we might as well go all the way.
The Hong Kong law states that you cannot speak against Beijing from anywhere in the world.
Yes, that is correct.
And when you find the lunatic maniacs that are running Beijing, to not be able to speak against them would be a ludicrous concept.
How much
the
world
I know
are
a lot of
over
after
there?
So we're all fugitives.
Yeah, we are. I know. Technically, they could technically extradite because everybody has extradition contracts with China, but Or that I don't think that's going to
We don't.
happen.
The U.S. suspended theirs.
Well, yeah, because we have Trump that said no, but if Biden gets elected, we know that's going to happen again. They're going to totally do that, and they might even actually enforce it too. Because if you vote for Biden, you're voting for Kamala.
Gets elected, you vote for Biden, you're voting for Xi Jinping. After all, he gave his son's company over $1 billion.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it's not even like Biden. You're not voting for Biden. You're voting for Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris is probably going to be in China's pocket because hey, that's where the money's at, and the prestige. But I know a lot of like protest organizations in Hong Kong actually shut down their operations, and they're like, we're not giving up. We're just having to figure out a different way to go about what we're doing, is what they're saying. They said, and this was probably, it was right after that law got passed, because they said it was basically like we just can't do anything.
They're going underground. They're now the resistance.
Basically, I mean, if America didn't have its own problems, I would, I wish we could do more to help. That's where my heart's at. But I also know that's not sound policy, and I don't want to go to war either, because war it's bad.
I think we're overdue for a war.
Whether we're forced into, if we're forced into one's one thing.
We're overdue for a real.
Thing about it is I think America, if anybody, has probably the troop numbers that actually have combat experience. Probably has more troops than any other country that has experience in battle of some type.
So but not in traditional war.
That's fair.
The world itself is overdue for a real war to remind them what war is.
Absolutely. Just remember the Geneva Convention isn't going to apply. And,
Definitely
they say it is, but just a piece of paper.
China's not a signature.
Oh, shocking. So shocking. They haven't signed, agreements to not, like use bioweapons and certain types of weapons. So shocking.
We've been on long enough that we could just call the episode here and start talking about unnecessary things. We've got a full episode's worth of content.
So do you think that the Czech Republic is going to acknowledge Taiwan first, or us?
If Trump gets reelected, us.
I think...
If he doesn't...
I think England will first.
You think England?
I think England will
Britain.
First. Yeah, their vocal opposition is a lot louder than ours, but has a lot less power.
That's probably fair. I know they've been pretty vocal about their support for Hong Kong too, because I think they're actually going beyond what America's doing. They're welcoming like people from Hong Kong because of the law that got passed. They're like, no, you can come here. We'll give you refugee status or something like that, or even maybe citizenship. And it's phenomenal. So that's because Britain had close ties, because it was a colony of the UK, and I think that right now the British are probably feeling like they screwed up big time
by giving it back.
Yeah. A member of Trump's cabinet recently referred to Taiwan as the Republic of China,
which is its official title.
Which is its official title, but something that they haven't used since they embraced China's One China policy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not shocking. I think conservatives have always been distrustful to a degree of China. Of course, Nixon tried as like, oh, we'll get them through this, and they believed that for a while, but
that was idealism at best, and at worst, just blatant lies.
Oh no,
my dad always thought that Nixon would go down well in history because of that move, because he honestly thought that economics would bring China down and destroy the Communist Party.
And it seems like that might actually happen.
If we left him alone.
It would have happened if they didn't embrace a semi-capitalist system over there. They have businesses that function like capitalist businesses with just oversight from the government.
Yeah, I mean, weren't they using like Hong Kong economy basically to base all their prices in other cities, basically, I think?
Yeah.
But Deng Xiaoping is dead, and Xi Jinping government is struggling.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, like you said, the Chinese are protesting.
They've got their knives out at each other. They're looking at a Maoist purge.
A Maoist purge?
Mao Zedong, what he did.
Oh, so you're saying like they're going to purge people that are complaining?
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Except they're looking at possibly
any enemy
the party
to the premier.
I mean,
yeah, so that's what Mao Zedong did.
Not the premier, because the premier is a different position. That's Li Keqiang.
Mao Zedong took and purged everybody that disagreed with him from the party, as well as in the country as a whole. And Xi Jinping wants to do the same.
Isn't that just standard operating procedure?
No, it's not.
It's only standard operating procedure if you have enough of a population that you can afford to lose.
Like Stalin did. Stalin killed
It
droves.
Doesn't work when you are in a society that has an aging and decreasing population with declining birth rates.
Yeah, no, I think China is down.
That's why Xi Jinping though is thinking about taking over Mao's title.
Oh, that's not surprising. I mean, we've been seeing that kind of on the verge, kind of going that direction for years. So if it happens, should we be shocked? No. How are we going to respond to it? Because I think we didn't start cozying up till China till after Mao was dead, right? Or was he still alive? So it was after Mao died.
No, he was dead.
Mao was an isolationist.
All right. I don't know a whole lot about Mao other than his great leap forward killed like millions of people through starvation and stuff like that. That's about all I really know.
The thing about Xi Jinping is that he seems to be adopting a lot of Mao's ways of governing, except that he is not an isolationist.
Oh yeah,
very much fits into the.
They think they're speculating he may be fixing to lock the country down, and go isolationist.
Well, that would probably.
It doesn't fit with the way that he's treating India and the way that he's treating Taiwan. Other officials may want to go isolationist. He doesn't seem to want to.
Yeah, I think if they were going to go isolationist, they would be. If they were going to go isolationist, they would be less provoking of other nations. I would think. That's my opinion.
I don't know. Mao was very provocative of other nations because he was one of the ones that wanted to conquer the world.
Well, that's a fair point.
That didn't happen, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I said, regardless, China is going to be a problem we're going to have to deal with. And I think the best way to deal with them is basically put our foot down when they get out of line and say, you cross the line, we retaliate, but we don't go like full war unless we have to. Because I think we'll be able to starve them out in the long run.
The way Trump is dealing with it right now is probably one of the best ways because he's taking and directly locking the money up for the leaders of the country.
Yeah, and I would agree. That's seeing what China's been doing has also been one of the reasons why I've started warming up to Trump a whole lot more. Between that and the riots, it's like, okay, his foreign policy is not as bad as I think people like to make it out to be. But that's just because I see China as a threat, because it is communist at the end of the day. So.
But
I was not a fan of Trump when he ran. But I have to say that I have been very pleased with how he's governed as the president.
But
go ahead.
It looks like India and China may go to blows. But if they do go to blows, that doesn't mean the U.S. has to join.
No, I don't think we should join unless they start. If they start getting in with Japan and South Korea, that's when I'm going to be maybe we should help out.
Because if they go for Japan, then all the weebs of the U.S. will unite.
Yes, that's so true.
Well, they're threatening Japan, and what will probably drag us in if it actually happens is if they invade Taiwan.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Honestly, I want Taiwan to take over the country. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's joining. Go ahead.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode. If you liked it, feel free to hit the like button. If you disliked it, feel free to hit the dislike button. Or the like, just because. Feel free to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you can get notifications of any new episodes. And feel free to drop a comment in the comments below. We like arguing with dissenting views, so feel free to dissent. Until then, see you next time.